Introducing the Match Logbook.
3, 2, 1, time.
Hey shooters, I'm Joe Lowly from Precision Match Timer and Precision Match Gear, and I'd like to show you a new little product I have called the Match Logbook. Now this is a way to record information during the match. It is also a way to go through checklists between stages to make sure that you are doing everything you're supposed to be doing. I'll show you in detail inside what this book is about, but I want to talk about a few things ahead of time. First of all, the size of it is 8.5 by 5.5, half a sheet of paper, which is great for being able to use it in a small area like on the tripod caddy or just up against your shooting pack or anything like that, or quite frankly even just in your hand. It is stiff enough to do so. It does have a clear cover in the front and a clear cover in the back, and I'll show you more about that later. And then it is coil bound or spiral bound so that it will lay flat, whether it's as a single page or as a double page. It lays flat. Makes it much easier to write on, and it doesn't close on you while you're not writing in it. The information in it is going to be used while you are shooting. It contains 16 match days. So that's either 16 single matches or it is 8 two-day matches. And you can record your information in there. And it's good for PRS, NRL, centerfire, rimfire, really doesn't matter. And I'm going to go through a little bit more about the information that's in there. A lot of this won't be unfamiliar to you. There's a lot of people who talk about recording this information. I just haven't found any good way to do it. There are a couple of apps that people have been doing, but I frankly don't want to take my phone out during a match. So I do everything analog. I may even take those apps and record the information from this into the app afterwards, but I like to do it analog during the match. It's the last thing I want to do is take my phone out and record information, waste my battery, all kinds of stuff like that. So let me show you some details from inside the book. Front cover, like I said, coil or spiral bound, and it does have a clear front, place to write your name and all the matches that you shot inside it. Inside, you got a place for all your personal information and a round count. I'll show you more detail about all of this later. This is where you record your impacts and misses. And this is where you record your match. 10 stages. And then of course it goes on to your second match. And it will repeat that over and over. There are 16 of them until you get to the last page where you can total everything up. And then the back, which is going to have your checklist and worksheet on it. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about that in detail. But what I wanted to show you is that it was specifically designed. I originally wrote out a lot of these things, but I want people to be able to do their own. So I purposely created this with 2 clear sheets. So you can write on this piece of paper here or print out and use a sticker to put your detail in there. But you might not know what your checklists are right away, and you may be developing them over time. So the way I did it is that this first sheet, you can take a Sharpie and then you could write different things on it, like reload magazine. It's a step we all need to do. And things like, check your dope, make a data card. Okay, things like that. But you don't know what you're going to use exactly. So then, while you are figuring that out, what you can do is take this second one and put it over to the top. Okay, and then you can go through and check things off. And then the idea is just like any of the other stuff that you do, you can take some alcohol or alcohol wipe, or you can even use a wet erase, and you can uncheck in between each time. Now, eventually, if you use the paper, the idea was the same in that you would have that all on paper underneath here, and then you could, again, use these to check off your different checklist items. And then, of course, you have at the bottom your worksheet that I'm going to talk about in a little bit more detail. But I just wanted to show you physically what that book was about. And now we're going to look at each of those pages in detail on my computer. All right, so after you open up the logbook, first page you're going to get is your personal information. This is just something I wanted to put in there so in case you lost it, you could identify it. But also things like emergency contact. You know, if you were to ever have your rifle stolen or something like that at a match, it's another place where you have information about it. And so you could very easily just fill out your information here and then put some stuff about your rifle. If you have more than one rifle, you could write multiple ones in here or write it on the back cover. But I would actually probably, even if you had like a rimfire gun and a centerfire gun, or you had a, you're shooting a 25 cal and a 6mm or something like that, I would probably have two different books and keep them separate. So here's pretty much the information that you might want to have in here, handwritten in there. And then I did put a place down here also to add a round count. So, you know, you can put, you can do round counts different ways, but it allows you to, sorry about that, moved it. It allows you to, you know, record your round counts and keep that information with you at all times. So, moving on to there. So, the next page is a spread with this one on the left and this one on the right. I would actually start with this one. Well, actually, first thing I do is fill out some of the information that's in here. You're going to put the name in. You're going to put a date in. And then you can mark off what kind of match it is. So say this is a PRS match. And it's a 2-day pro match. And so this is day 1, and that's center fire. So, you know, obviously you can change those very easily to be whatever you want it to be. You might then go to the second page over here. This is pre-match work. So this is what I consider to be done either Friday during, you know, your warm-up day, practice day, or it could also be done Saturday morning or Sunday morning before the match starts. So it's got a number of things that you can put in here. You know, get your book, fill out your info, make some data cards if you can. Go to your Kestrel, make sure your latitude's right. Make target cards on your Kestrel. And one thing I like to do is always turn off my other guns, so I only have one gun showing on the Kestrel. I also left 4 blank spots if you want to add something else. So, you know, that's easy enough to do. So if you want to put in some information like this, you know, you check those off. You may decide you want a true ammo and at this match. So then you could put that on there as well. And over here, you can fill out information about your zero, your muzzle velocity. And then I have a little target here. I like to use this to show where my zero was that morning. And, you know, this size is arbitrary. It could be anything you want. I tend for this to be about either I count it as either 1/10 on the black lines, 1/10 of a mil, or 2/10 of a mil, and that the inner gray one is either a 1/2 or a single or a full tenth. And then I draw a little circle where the round my zero is. You know, if it's just to the left a little bit, but it's not enough to change it on your turret, I like to just make note where it is. If you're shooting something small, like, you know, small KYL rack or something like that, and you know, there's no wind, well, you might want to know that it is slightly left. Or if you are, you know, shooting with, you know, there's a 1/2 or a 1/10 of spin drift, you know, it's kind of negating it. So I actually like mine to be a little bit on the left rather than a little on the right, but that's up to you. I just like to mark it. The next thing I would do is put the part time in, and then last three things, I set the timer on my watch. I check all the batteries that I have, whether I'm using a red dot, I'm using the send it level, things like that. And then make sure my mags are loaded for the first stage. The second section is about what the weather is going to be, and I like to look at the weather ahead of time and see what it is going to do. So first thing you might put down, you know, where are you getting your weather from? Is it just from your phone or something? Or in this case, I like to use the Windy app. And then whether it's going to rain that day, and then more importantly, where's the predominant wind direction coming from? And then what kind of speed is it? And you can write that any way you want. This is usually how I write it, 6 to 8 with gusts of 12. You could easily write a morning wind and an afternoon wind or something like that if it's going to change, and you know, or make notes. There's a little bit of room to do that as well. So then after you have shot your first stage, this is where you're going to come back and record your information. So first thing you're going to do is put the props, something like it's tires, or some kind of barricade or whatever it is. How many positions there were, you know, 5 different positions, and there were 2 targets. Then I like to put in what the distances were, as well as the size of the target. And again, I do that in mils. If you want to do it in inches, you can, but I like to just know what the size of the target is in mils. Then you're going to put what kind of gear is used, and there's lots of things you can do. That's usually what I write for a Schmedium Game Changer. I just write SHM. So, you know, you'll come up with your own abbreviations, but that's, you know, one possibility is having that. You may instead have something like, you know, a bipod with a Schmedium or whatever you use for a rear bag. You may say something like a flat bag with a tack table, and then you could also make notes like, you know, the tack table was about belt high or something like that. So those are all possibilities that you could write there. And then I have what was the wind. So this is like the post-mortem for wind. This is after you've shot it. What was the wind, so that you can apply it for the next stage. And there's a few different ways to do it. You could, you know, put down that it was a southwest wind at 7. You could put it was a 9:30 wind, 7 miles an hour. You could even just put, especially square range, you know, it was a 0.3 left or something like that. I tend to think that this one is the best one to do, because then if you're obviously shooting in different directions, you can still use that information. And instead of actually using, you know, cardinal directions like a southwest, you could put that in degrees as well, depending on how you do it in your Kestrel. And then the last section is notes. You might have something like this. You know, it was wobbly. I didn't see my miss the first shot. I adjusted, saw the plate rock, and, you know, ran the rest of it. Or it might just say clean, easy stage. Or it might say really struggled and, I didn't have a good natural point of aim or whatever it was. Just have some notes about what it was. And this is going to do a couple different things. It's going to help you apply this information to other stages that day. It's also going to help you when you are going back to shoot at that same range at another time. If this is a regional match or something where you go there, 4 or 5 times a year and shoot, you may have notes about the tires or something like that you can read about it before you shoot it the next time again. And then you may say, well, I'm not doing that. That's why I also like what gear is used, because I can say, hey, that car stage, did I shoot with just a bag or did I shoot with a bipod? And, you can look back and say, well, I cleaned it and I just used a single bag, so that's all I'm going to do again. And so that's good information that you could have for the next time. But, whatever you have missed, that is where you are going to apply back on this page. So say we started on that first stage, and it's the number of shots, the number of shots for the stage, number of impacts you had, how many shots you actually took, how many you missed, and then why you missed them. And this why you missed them is based on, I know it's a system a lot of people are using. The guys from Miles to Matches use something very similar to this. They tend to use just elevation, winds, I believe stability, and process. And I've kind of divided up process because for me, I wanted more information. Was it a mental error that I missed? Did I, dial the wrong dope? Did I forget to load a magazine? Did I shoot the wrong target? Those are mental errors. Then there's fundamental errors. I yanked the trigger. I didn't have a good MPA, things like that. And then time. I just ran out of time, so I didn't get my last shots off, and I put that down for there. And you may decide not to put it in for time and say, it was just because I couldn't get stable is why I ran out of time. Well, then use stability or whatever it is. So, in this case, as I wrote down, I had 10 shots. I hit 8. I took 10, dropped 2. The first one was wobbly, so it was a stability issue. And then the second one I just missed, and that was a wind issue. And the rest were zeros. And then you can start to fill these in as you go. There's lots of reasons why you could do different things like this, but this is a mental issue in time. Maybe you didn't have a loaded mag, and you had to switch mags, and that cost you time or whatever it is. And you can write notes if you want. I just keep it very simple like this, and then you just kind of fill it in. Hey, there's a clean stage. There's another clean stage. And then as the day goes by, you are recording all your information. And then at the end of the day, you just total up your columns, okay? And now I know I dropped 9 total. This was 100 shots for the day. I got 91. I only took 99 shots. I only lost 1 to time. So, 99 shots taken. If this is day 2 of a match, if it's day 2, then you might put in some other information like, let me see, let me take that out. You might put information in about the previous day, like, maybe you also had a 91 the other day, and so you'd write 91 out of 100 yesterday. And then you're going to have your percentage of your total. That's today's percentage. 91 out of 100 is 91%. Total impacts I had was 91. Percent of shots taken, well, that's 91 out of 99, so that's actually a 92%. And then after you get some scores in, how many shots did the winner have? Winner had 97. And then you can have the percentage of the winner's points, which is what you're going to have as your score on the PRS website for that match. So you can record that. And, did you win anything? Yeah, that was good enough for 5th Open, or, top Mill Leo or something like that. You could put those down there. And then once you have all that information, like I said, you do it again for a day 2, combine them together. On your second day, you would do a combined shot. And then you are going to, this is the pages. There are 2 more pages that have 3 through 10 on them. And let's go back to that. This is the back page where you would fill out all of the matches as a running tally for that. So you might, if you have more than one book, you might bring forward that information from another book. But you're going to want to put in what the match was, and then what you did for that match. You just bring that information forward, and then you are going to fill all these in as you go. And then at the bottom, you end up with your totals for 16 matches, or maybe 8 matches. And then your percentage of your totals you can put in as well. And this is where you really get some good information. And what you can do is, the first percentage I always do is it's 115 out of 1636. So that's 7%. So you miss 7% of your shots. And then these percentages are based on your number of misses. So you can see where you're missing more. So it looks like we missed 35% of our shots because of wind. Well, that makes sense. Maybe 23% because of fundamentals or mental errors. Well, that's something we can work on. You got to work on your mental errors. I hope to make that this book helps on mental errors because of the checklists and things like that, so you don't forget certain things. But this really just gives you information on what you should be practicing. And that's the whole idea behind this whole book. All right, looking at that back page, I discussed a little bit about how it can be written in there with the either permanently or with a Sharpie. And the other way you can do things, you can, here I'm going to put that up there, so you can write those in by hand, different things that you want to do. The other thing you can do is, if you get where you feel like it's permanent, is you can print them off on a printer and glue them on there, and then you can check everything off as you go. And that's my goal, is between stages to go through this checklist, and then before the next stage I go through this checklist. And I've really tried to pare this down for me, the things that I forget to do, the things that I need to be doing. And so this is my checklist. Yours is probably going to be different, but if you need some ideas, have at it. Feel free to use any of mine that you need. And then again, with the information down here, you can add in your distances, your size, your elevation, holdovers, wind, and put that all in there. And then take this information and transfer it over to your dope card. I like to do it that. This is almost like a worksheet that I'm doing before I make my final neatly written dope card that I put on my rifle. And this is, like I said, it's a worksheet. It's a way to get the information down, decide if that's the way I'm going to go or not, and then put that information over onto my final dope card. All right, shooters, that's it for the match logbook. And I know that whenever I've actually used this, and I've been trying to use it for a year or so, whenever I actually use it, it helps me. and it's mostly because I use the checklists, and I also use the wind information from previous stages. I have a bad habit, like a lot of people probably, to get talking too much, or even just get tired towards the end of the day and not fill out the information as well. But when I fill it out, I do better. And I just like having some of that information also for the next time I shoot a match in that area. Also, to know what I need to practice. So those are all the things that I'm shooting, or I'm using this book for using it for my shooting. And hopefully it'll help you. I have them for sale up on the website, precisionmatchgear.com, and I hope to see you out at the range soon.